He is the brand new athletic director for the Dardanelle Sand Lizards. We are visiting with Coach Lucas Skaggs right after this on the Spotlight. From the beautiful Alathus building in downtown Russellville, we welcome you into the Spotlight on this Tuesday. My name is Drew Brent. Thanks so much for joining us. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. It's 479-968-5668 or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. Hey, remember, coming up this Friday morning on KARV, that's AM 610 and FM 93.1, the Spotlight on Carve. Tarshawn Whitehead will join us talking about all things Boys and Girls Club, so don't miss that. That's coming up this Friday morning on Carve. Today, however, we have the shiny new athletic director for the Dardanelle Sand Lizards, replacing Larry Walker after nearly 3 decades of service. His name is Coach Lucas Skaggs. And Coach, welcome to the Spotlight, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great.
It's good to have you here. You know, when I called you or text you, asked you to be here, there was some common ground that we have when it comes to Dardanelle. You were taking the place of a guy who has been in service to Dardanelle for, as I mentioned, nearly 3 decades.
Yes.
I'm walking into a role with 2 other guys who are taking the place of guys who have been there for 3 decades. Change is afoot in Dardanelle, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's one thing, Coach Walker was outstanding. He did this job for many, many years through many transitions of high school sports and things like that. And so, as you look at a new role and, media is different now than it was 30 years ago. And we've had outstanding people. Coach Walker was great. Kent and Mark are great. Yeah. And it's just a change. And so, we can't do it exactly like them. We've just got to do our new version of it and do the best we can.
Right. That was one of the things that Kent said was, don't try to do what Mark and I did. And I was like, well, okay, we can't. You were doing it for 3 decades. And so it's one of those things as you walk into this, do you kind of take that into consideration? Like, hey, the previous guy was here for a long time. Do you kind of tread lightly, or do you try to blaze your own path fairly quickly?
I mean, you want to do the good things good. Coach Walker did a lot of things good. That's why he got to work there for so long.
Right.
I mean, he did a lot of things great. And, he built relationship with a lot of kids that he probably works with today and knows and are in coaching and various different roles. And so we look at ways, we're in this to do things great for kids. And so Coach Walker got to build those relationships, work with kids, work with coaches that have gone on to do other things somewhere else. And so we look at those positives. We look at the fun around meeting those people. And, we just want to do the best for our kids today. And that can be a little bit different because every year changes.
Right. What are the, you've been in athletic administration for how
long? Administration side of it, a long time. Let's see, I don't know, 13, 14 years.
Well, even in that 14-year time period, let's call it 14 years.
Okay.
How much has the game changed since the late 2000s to now?
It has changed a lot. Every year, we're all experiencing some change in size of school, conference changes, things like that.
That's coming.
Coming up next year, this season we're playing as it is. Next year, Dardanelle football is 5A football.
We're traveling up and down the Interstate 40 for some away games too, we saw.
Yes, sir. We don't know what our conference is going to be. We're not going to know that until late December, early January, after this season is complete, on where that falls. So there's a lot of questions as to what our games look like next year, how many teams are in our conference, what teams are in our conference for football. But, that's just new. But schools change sizes. There's a lot of schools that we had rivalries with. When Mark and Kent started this, Danville was a big rivalry.
Yep, it was the big one.
And our size of school is not the same anymore. And not that it's not a rivalry, it's just that we don't play in the same sports and it's not the same.
Right. We're talking to Lucas Skaggs. He's the new athletic director over at Dardanelle High School. And Coach, one of the things that I was interested in too was learning a little bit more about you. You've been coaching. You've been in athletic administration, as you mentioned, for 14 years. You've been coaching longer than that. How'd you get started?
Well, I was Arkansas Tech graduate of mathematics, and I became a high school math teacher, and I coached football also. And then I became a principal and superintendent, and kind of spent a career in administration there. And I worked at a role as assistant superintendent, athletic director some, And then Coach Walker retired, and I got an opportunity to be the athletic director at Dardanelle. So it's been great.
When you mentioned a few minutes ago, I want to do the good things good. I think that's the motto for everybody. But I think of a guy like Frank Broyles when he walks at the University of Arkansas. The next guy up, we won't talk about him, but I mean, trying to fill the shoes of somebody who has been there for that long, do you add any pressure to yourself, or you just try to walk the same line?
No, I don't think you had any pressure. I mean, I talked to Coach Walker. I've got a good relationship with Coach Walker and knew him before this job was open. So on things that I think need to be very similar, or I need some guidance, I call Coach Walker and say, hey, how can you help me here? And then in new areas, you're just kind of, you work with the coaches and kind of just use some leadership. I've been in, leadership of various roles for years. And so that's what you're kind of looking at as you move forward.
Top to bottom, our athletic department at Dardanelle is, from a student perspective, I think my favorite that I've ever been a part of, just because the quality of character that we have among our student athletes is just, it's second to none. I know that that's a bit of a leading question, but comment on that a little bit. Our students have great character top to bottom.
Yeah, we have great kids at Dardanelle, and that starts just walking the halls. And then athletics supports that and adds to it. So, that it's just a great thing. We have a lot of great things. Our band is a big deal. I mean, there's so many big programs, but we go to a football game and then we're going to see an awesome band at halftime. So
Right. The peripheral side of that is interesting too. I'm glad you mentioned that because we talk about game day atmosphere.
mhm.
Of course, you've got the football team. Of course, you've got cheerleaders. Of
Yes.
course, you've got band. But then there's the rowdy student section that we have had in the past. And then you've got ROTC who add such a patriotic flavor to the whole thing. You can't pull that off without every single student group coming together, can you?
Exactly. And I came in mid-year during a COVID year, so we
Right.
did not get to do all those things that we have traditionally in the past. Our cheerleaders did a great job, and we've got another great group of cheerleaders this year. And they were, we've kind of started two-a-days of football right now and also doing that for cheer. So when I go to Bob in the mornings, you see cheer and you see football.
Mhm.
And so they're doing a great job and working very hard. But it's just a different world if we get to have a normal season.
Mhm.
And last year we didn't. Our tailgates were different,
Right.
things were different. So when I came in mid-year, I didn't get to see all the fun things in the large group. We were still under, you know, social distancing and not as many admitted to the ball games.
Sure. We started mid-season as well for basketball,
Yes.
and that was different. Everything just looked different. The way we called the games were different. Trying to have a headset on with a mask was weird. I mean,
Yes.
and we may still have some of those challenges coming up this season. I know you don't have the answer to this yet, but I mean, are there conversations happening about what we might have to do?
I don't really know the answer to that. I mean, everybody could say, hey, are we going to have limited attendance essentially, or do we need to sit so at a certain distance? I feel like we're going to be able to have more people at our football games, and I think family groups are going to be able to sit together.
Sure.
Um, and so we're looking forward to a more normal start to school. We hope that's that opportunity, but we also want to keep our kids safe.
Right.
So we're going to follow the regulations that we have for outdoor venues and do our very best to have a great atmosphere for our kids.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just feel like, our live stream that we've been doing with you and our radio
Mhm.
is more important than ever. In the past, a lot of people came to the ball game.
Right.
Last year, a lot of people learned how to watch it online.
Right.
And my own kids loved state basketball tournament broadcast on ATN, and they want to watch, state basketball tournament. And that's not been broadcast in that way in the past. It has to some degree,
Mhm.
but a lot more online streaming when you can't travel 3 hours to go see something.
Right.
So I feel like it's a great opportunity. If we have limited attendance, we want to be doing a great job on our live stream and our radio feed so people get to hear you and Matt.
And Taylor Kendrick,
And Taylor,
and
yeah.
we appreciate the added pressure just then.
Yeah.
We have that public boom.
Hey,
Yeah,
we're trying. No pressure.
Right, exactly. I find it interesting too that you mentioned that because for so many years there were so many high school administrators, because I've been doing the play-by-play thing across the state for 17 years. And there was always such an adverse reaction to bringing in cameras or even really having a radio feed, because the old school administrators say, hey, that's going to kill my live gate. We can't be broadcasting this out. The game really has changed, hasn't it? I don't know in a normal year that affects attendance so much, but you almost have to have the secondary part of it to be, complete. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, if you're an old football guy, you need to go kind of walk on the field sometime
Mm-hmm.
and kind of smell the atmosphere of being outside in the fall. But there are parents and grandparents that health doesn't allow them to get there, and so they need the opportunity to watch their child
Yeah.
cheer, play football, play in the band, whatever it may be. And also grandparents may live here and their child may be playing in Rogers, and so we're looking for a Rogers live feed, or.
Mm-hmm.
So our parents are just more, they're looking for that more. Last year, when we are in regional and state basketball, limited entry there, and so everybody's asking the question, "Hey, where's the live feed? Where's Drew? Where's Taylor? Where's Matt?"
Where's Matt? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was tough on you guys because it's during the day. It's not a great. You've got a job
Yeah.
here.
I work here.
Yeah, at 10 o'clock, I need you somewhere else
Right.
for a state
Exactly.
tournament.
Like,
But it's a big deal, and I feel like after one full year of that, people are more dependent upon a live feed and a voice for, there's more viewers, more listeners because of this.
no question. And which was part of the reason we went to a three-man booth to begin with, because there is an opportunity. If one of us can't make it, there's two other guys. I mean, because on top of this, all of us have full-time gigs, and I know that's the case with parents as well.
Yes.
I find it interesting, that shift, though. So many years ago, I equate it to when the internet was in its infancy, and a website was kind of like a convenience thing. Now, if you don't have a website, you're behind by 20 years, and if you don't have that online presence, it's similar. And now there's the opportunity for East Lab students to come in and help. There's the opportunity to put more highlights on some of our other clubs and other programs. How important is that to the school district as a whole, not just athletics?
Well, it just gives kids an opportunity to be involved. You know, there's so many things that go on to have a football game or a basketball game or any type of school event. There are so many behind the scenes things that take place. And so, you know, some schools or some events last year were 100% e-ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Purchase online, show your phone, and move from there. So, just there's so many behind the scenes pieces to school events, whether it be a sports event or a band event or choir or any of the arts or anything going on. And East is a technology piece of the school where they're a part of many things going on. They'll be doing interviews of teachers, working on just various things.
We're talking to Coach Lucas Skaggs. He's the athletic director over at Dardanelle High School. Hey, if you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. It's 479-968-5668, or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. If you've missed any of the Spotlight interviews, you can go back and check those out on the Facebook archive. You can also listen to us on Google Play, Spotify, Anchor, or iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, check out the archive on YouTube. Coach, we are everywhere, which is kind of what we're hoping for Dardanelle Athletics as well. I want to talk a little bit about something we were talking about off air, and that was just how many people have been involved in the legacy spots. And here's what I mean by that. We were talking about Kent and Mark having done this for 30 years. We were talking about Coach Walker having done it for 30 years. But there are a couple of other guys up in the press box that need some recognition. The late Bob Beta was in that. He was a staple in Benny's barbershop forever. He was a staple up in the press box. Lynn Cotton, and if you recognize that name, you're not from Dardanelle. He is the father of Senator Tom Cotton. He has been the public address announcer for as long as I can remember. It's borderline iconic in Dardanelle. Talk about Lynn Cotton a little bit.
I came in and I've met Lynn prior to working at Dardanelle, but I've got to know him better working here. He's a great guy. He's going to know every kid that kind of comes across the field or walks across the track. I mean, he's he's there. He has an outstanding voice. He sounds great in the microphone, and he just loves Dardanelle football and Dardanelle kids. And so I
Yeah.
talked to him this morning. He's watching two-a-day football practice today. So
It's not just the voice of the Sand Lizards and PA. I mean, it just he sounds like Dardanelle football.
yes, I mean when kids come to play at Dardanelle, they expect to hear him.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to a certain stadium, you think, "Hey, I'm going to hear this voice," and Lynn Cotton is that voice of Dardanelle.
I remember in the locker room when I was in ninth grade, one of the things, and I never really said this out loud, but I think every kid thought it like, I want to hear him say my name.
Hmm.
And I was not an athlete. I'm sure you're shocked by that, but I did attempt, and I made one big tackle against Pottsville, and he called my name. I thought that's the end of my career.
Yeah, I can quit
That's
now.
it. That's the end. I'm going into broadcasting now because that's the end of my football career. But those are the people who really make this thing.
Yes, he does a great job, and he loves kids, and he's there to support kids all the time, and he's always there with a smile. And this morning, he's out there watching football practice. He just loves it,
Right,
you
right.
know. And he stopped by to get a football schedule a couple weeks ago. He's preparing for his year
Hmm.
of calling Dardanelle football.
That's one of the things when Taylor, Matt, and I got the gig, we were most excited about was getting to be in the press box with Lynn Cotton, and it's just
Yes.
something up there that's legendary, and that brings me to another point. When you talk to a guy like me or Taylor or Lynn Cotton or these guys who have been around it for a while, there is a very distinct, very clear just love and passion for it. Did that take you back a little bit when you took on the job? Did you expect that? I mean, what was something that really kind of stuck out to you when you became the AD permanently?
You know, I think every high school in the state has those people at their school fired up about their kids.
Sure.
But I thought it's extra special at Dardanelle because the radio guys have been doing it for 30 years. Larry Walker been there 30 years. Lynn Cotton's been there 30 years. Jerry Don Wood, Scott Moore. I don't know the time that they've done that, but
They've been there a little bit.
yes, Jerry Don has committed many years of service as a board of director for
Hmm.
Dardanelle Schools and is doing that role again now.
And with
But
San Lizard Foundation.
yeah, and Sandler's Foundation, and so those guys are just committed to kids, and they want to do a great job for kids, and so I mean, you just have major respect for those people, and there'll be those people maybe at other districts also,
Sure.
but when you get to meet them at Dardanelle and meet Lynn Cotton and think, hey, this guy is really dedicated to Dardanelle and calling out our kids' names, and it's a big deal to you, and it's a big deal to a lot of people throughout the years, and he remembers the people.
Oh, yeah.
So he learns them and knows them, and it's great. And same with Mark and Kent; those guys committed many years of their life and time to do a great job for Dardanelle.
I have a special place in my heart for Mark Thome because his son and I graduated together. We were close in high school. Spent a lot of time over at his house. And the thing that about Mark, Kent, all of these guys is that passion is not just behind the microphone. It's real. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
tangible. There's something special about that over in Dardanelle. I could gush about that all day long, but what you need to know is you're watching the Spotlight right here on Elate This Realty Live. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today, 479-968-5668, or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. Want to remind you that at 8:30 on Friday morning, you can listen to the Spotlight. It's going to be on AM 610 and FM 93.1. And starting August the 27th, you can hear Dardanelle High School football on that same radio station. Some three yahoos are going to be calling it. We won't even have to mention those guys' names. But that's going to start on August the 27th. Boonville Bearcats coming to town, coming up that Friday. So
yes sir.
we're excited about that. Coach, we've talked a lot about football, but there is a whole athletic department to discuss. Basketball has done very well in the last few years in the boys' side. Girls' side has made some improvements. We've really seen some improvement there. Soccer team is outstanding. Talk about our athletic department as a whole.
Well, the things that Coach Walker's done well and our coaches have done well is just create a lot of opportunities for kids. We just have a lot of opportunities where kids can come participate, kids enjoy it, and it gives them a chance to be a part of something, whether that's football or basketball or tennis or golf or
Right.
soccer or whatever it may be. But just give kids those opportunities to have fun and make high school just a little more fun. I mean, high school is about learning and getting prepared for life or college or wherever you're going to go. but our athletic opportunities give students another opportunity. This last year track we had a good year in track and had a lot of fun, and we had several students go compete in the state track event, and so that was great.
It's striking too because there's even more attention being paid to the spring sports. I think that Arkansas Tech and the University of Arkansas's success in those sports have helped kind of propel high school sports in that area. Radio broadcast is actually going to cover 6 baseball games and 6 softball games this year. First time that we've done that ever. Again, it just points back to putting the emphasis on the students.
Yeah, spring 2021, we baseball and softball both the 1 seed coming out of our district tournament. So I mean that was a big deal for us. We've hosted it at Merritt Park, and then we're the 1 seed.
And you talk about Merritt Park too over in Dardanelle. When the school is doing well in sports, it's really good for the community as a whole, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we were very busy. Even Merritt Park has the best ice cream in Dardanelle. Not the best, but some of the best. If you've never been over and had the soft serve, then
I think the folks at Boca Diaz may have something to say.
yeah,
about
Boca
that.
Diaz has great ice cream. So, but they only at Merritt Park. I was
Right.
like, hey, y'all need to open up and sell that another day besides just days we have a game. But it's great soft serve ice cream. But Boca Diaz has awesome food as well. But anyway, they ran out one day. We're hosting district tournament. A lot of people, a lot of little league games going on, just a lot of stuff going on. So Merritt Park was very, very packed during the district tournament, and it was neat. And at that time, COVID was in a downturn, and more people were feeling comfortable to get out, bring their own seats, sit away from each other, and just have a good time. And so baseball, softball attendance was up. Spring sport attendance, a lot of our soccer games had some good attendance to come see kids.
Let's take COVID out of the picture for just a moment. I know that COVID is something that's going to be a conversation among administrators across the state over the next few weeks as school gets ready to start back up. COVID aside, what are you looking forward to the most coming up in this next school year? Assuming we get to do everything like we were supposed to do, what are you looking forward to the most?
Filling the stands up, letting the people that want to watch the events come to the events, family, friends, things like that, where they can come sit together, come have some noise at a game,
Sure.
A different level of crowd noise, things like that. Some of the most exciting games you'll go to, you've got the stands are full. People are leaning on the fence around the field. There's yelling, there's screaming, there's cheerleaders, there's band. And that was not the case during a year where we had to limit attendance to keep people safe.
Right. As we wind this interview down, football season, obviously the one that's closest and the one that's coming up. I've looked over the schedule. It's not easy. This is not an easy schedule coming up for the Sand Lizards. They will be tested. What are we looking at? I know 2-a-days just started, but what are we looking at as far as Sand Lizard football? I know what I think. I know what you think.
Yes, sir. We've got some good players right now. We've got some good kids, and we've just got to maintain being healthy. If 4A football, we're pretty good, but we've got to maintain our health.
Right.
And so, the number of players is always a factor. And so, when in some positions we're really good for the first one, and we're not as good at the second one, and so just maintaining being healthy is the way to play high school football and to deal with the heat.
Sure.
Dealing with the heat this week is better, but still we want to take care of our kids and get into August and get into September when it begins to cool off and maintain being healthy, and then just have fun. I mean, we're playing high school football because it's fun.
Right.
And we get to. And so we love to go to various stadiums. We love for them to come here, and it's a blast. And so the kids, Friday night football, Thursday night football for our kids is a big deal.
We have talked about it as a broadcast crew. This is what we've decided for Dardanelle sports as a whole this year. We're going to make it sound like ESPN if ESPN were homers. Does that sound like a pretty decent strategy?
That's fine. We need to be homers all the time.
All right. Very good. Coach Skaggs, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
All right. That's Coach Lucas Skaggs. He's the new athletic director over at Dardanelle High School. Of course, Dardanelle kicks off on August the 27th. The high school football across the state kicks off towards the end of August, and we are hoping that all of that is within COVID. Everybody's being safe, but we can't wait for high school football as well. We have got some great guests coming up later on this week. We are We are excited to announce those. Be watching Facebook for that. Also, don't miss Carve the interview with Tarshawn Whitehead coming up AM 610 and 93.1 Friday morning at 8:30. For now, my name is Drew Brent. You've been watching the Spotlight on Olathe Realty Live. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.